Hey Ober Sports, Jacob Ober here. It's that time of the year again, March Madness, and they just released the NCAA tournament bracket. Unfortunately, no Wisconsin teams were included in that, so that's a bit of a bummer, but it's still a great field this year. I think the committee got a little bit, that got a lot of teams wrong on the bubble. I don't think Syracuse or Oklahoma should have been in over teams like USC or St. Mary's, but it is what it is. So this is our bracket. So I'm going to fill out my bracket in this video, and I'm going to go game by game, and we'll see what you guys think. So my first matchup here, Virginia, UMBC, Virginia, obviously going to win that. UVA. 8-9 seed matchup, Creighton, Kansas State. Admittedly, I have not watched a lot of college basketball this season at all, so I really can't say I'm knowledgeable on any of these teams at all. I've watched a few teams. I've watched Virginia play this season. I've watched teams like Purdue play, Kansas play, but a lot of the smaller schools haven't really watched them at all. So these are a lot of these are going to be shots in the dark. So 8-9 Creighton, Kansas State. Creighton's I think the Big East is a better conference, so I'm going to go with Creighton in this one. Next matchup, Kentucky, Davidson, 5-12 matchup. Kentucky hasn't been as strong this year as they have been in years past. Davidson's the 12 seed. I'm going to go with 12-5 upset here. Davidson's going to get the victory over Kentucky. It's going to be a tough game for Davidson, obviously, but I think Davidson wins this one. 4-13 matchup, Arizona, Buffalo. I haven't seen either of these teams play, really. I'm going to go with Arizona. 6-11, Miami and Loyola, Chicago. Miami, I'm going to go with Miami in this one. I haven't really heard anything about Loyola, so Miami in that one. Tennessee and Wright State out of the Horizon League. Tennessee's been really good this year. I'll give it to Tennessee. Nevada and Texas, ooh, a 7-10 matchup. You know, I like the 10 seed here. I like Texas. I've always watched them from afar, Texas. So I'm gonna go with the Longhorns. Cincinnati, Georgia State. Cincinnati is a small school. They got the number 2 seed this year, so I think it might be the highest ranking Cincinnati has ever gotten. So Cincinnati moves on. 1-16 again, Xavier, and then we have a first four with I think NCCU. I'm not even sure what that is. North Carolina something. Texas Southern versus Texas Southern. I'll pick Texas Southern to win the play-in game, and I'm gonna go with Xavier to win it as the number 1 seed. Another 8-9 matchup. I like these 8-9 matchups. Missouri, Florida State. Haven't watched either of these teams this year. ACC, I think, is a better conference, so I'm going to go with the ACC team, Florida State. Ohio State, South Dakota State. Ohio State's been really good this year. I have managed to catch a couple of their games. 5-12 is a popular upset, but I have my 5-12 in the first bracket, which is the South Division. Right now I'm working on the West. I'm going to go with Ohio State over South Dakota State. 4-13, Gonzaga versus UNC Greenville. I'm going to go with Gonzaga. I've always liked Gonzaga. I like how the small school is really good. They're a very, very small school, by the way, but they consistently have a top-tier basketball program, so I'm going to go with the Zags. Houston, San Diego State. I haven't watched either of these teams this year either. I think I'm going to go with Houston, the higher seed. Michigan, Montana, 3 versus 14. I'm going Michigan. I like Michigan to go far in this tournament, so Michigan it is. Texas A&M versus Providence, 10-7 matchup. I have seen Providence play in the Big East tournament this year. I like what I saw. I think the Friars are going to go and win this one. 2-15, North Carolina, Lipscomb. Obviously, North Carolina. Moving on over to the East bracket, 1 versus one Villanova versus, I'm not even sure. I think that's Radford versus LIU. I don't even know who that is. Villanova's going to win that game. Virginia Tech versus Alabama. I like these 8-9 matchups. They look like they're going to be good ones. Alabama had a nice run in the SEC tournament, but I'm going VA Tech. 5-12 West Virginia versus Murray State. I'm going to go with West Virginia. Wichita State, Marshall, 4 versus 13. Wichita State, I think Wichita State is going to go far this season. I've always liked Wichita State. They're another one of those small schools that has a great basketball program. I like watching those teams play, and I like to root for them in March Madness. Number 6, Florida versus another playing game here. We got UCLA versus St. Bonaventure. I'll pick UCLA to win that game, and I'll go with Florida to move on as the 6th seed. 3 versus 14, Texas Tech versus SF Austin. You know what? I'm going to go with SF Austin. We always have one of these every year where it's a really higher-end seed loses to like a 14 seed. I bet you SF Austin wins this game. SF Austin it is. Another 7-10, Arkansas Butler. Big East is a better conference than the SEC, and I really like this 10-7 upset, so I'm gonna go with Butler. Purdue, CS Fullerton. Purdue, obviously. Purdue is a very good team this year. They remind me of the Badgers from a couple years ago. Kansas versus Penn. Kansas. We're on the Midwest part of the bracket now, final bracket here. Seton Hall versus NC State. You know what, I'm going to go with Seton Hall. They're the 8th seed. Big East is a really good conference this year. I trust Seton Hall to win that game. Clemson versus New Mexico State. You know, I watched a little bit of New Mexico State the other day. You know, I think I'm going to go another 12-5 upset here. New Mexico State with the upset over number 5 Clemson. Auburn versus Charleston. I'll go with Auburn there. TCU versus Arizona State / Syracuse. Playing game. I'm going with Arizona State to win the playing game. And you know what? I'm going to pick Arizona State to win the first round matchup too. Michigan State, Bucknell. Michigan State, this game is going to be played in Detroit, not too far from where Michigan State plays, so I'm going Michigan State here. Obviously, they have a huge advantage over Bucknell anyways because they're the 3rd seed. MSU advancing. I think MSU is going to go far this year. Rhode Island, Oklahoma. Rhode Island. Oklahoma does not deserve to be in the tournament this year. I have no idea who would think that they deserve to be in it other than an Oklahoma fan. Duke versus Iona. Duke. So now we're on to the second round of games here. UVA versus Creighton. This is the South Division. UVA versus Creighton, Virginia, the lockdown defense. Davidson, Arizona. I got to go with Arizona, the higher seed. Miami, Tennessee. Oh, it's going to be a good game, but I think I'm going to go with the upset here. Miami over Tennessee. Texas versus Cincinnati. That the 10 seed versus the 2 seed, you know, I bet you Cincinnati wins. I like Cincinnati this tournament. I might root for them. Xavier, Florida State, 1 versus a 9. I'm going to go with Xavier. Ohio State versus the Zags, 4 versus 5. This is a good matchup. I think Gonzaga takes it. Houston, Michigan. I think Michigan's going to win this one, 3 versus 6. Michigan. Providence versus UNC. I bet you this game's going to be close. I bet you this game will be close, but UNC is going to pull it out. They're a very, very good and well-rounded team this year. Nova versus Virginia Tech. You know, I bet you this is going to be another good game. 1 versus an 8. Is there any other games down here that it might be an upset? 1 versus 8. You know what? I think I'm going to go with Villanova here. I thought about the upset there, but now I think Nova's going to hang on to a Sweet 16. West Virginia versus Wichita State. Give me Wichita State. I like Wichita State. Florida, SF Austin. SF Austin gets their upset, but they are not going to beat Florida in the second round. Butler versus Purdue. I bet you this will be a good game, but Purdue's going to prevail. Kansas versus Seton Hall. Oh, I really, really want to pick an 8 or a 9 over a 1 this year. I just feel like it's going to happen this year. It happened last year with the Badgers, you remember, over Villanova. What do I do here? What do I do? Kansas is the weakest of all the 4 seeds, or the 1 seeds, I think. It's either them or Xavier. You know what? Seton Hall wins. 8 over the 1-seeded Kansas. There we go. Another upset for us. Auburn versus New Mexico State. I'll go with Auburn. Arizona MSU. That's going to be a Arizona State versus MSU. Sorry. It's going to be a good game, but MSU is going to prevail. They moved to the Sweet 16. Rhode Island versus Duke. You know what? 7 over 2. Rhode Island's going to beat Duke. Thank goodness. I hate Duke as a Wisconsin Badgers fan. Now we're on to the Sweet 16 matchup. So UVA versus Arizona. I like Virginia's defense. Virginia moves on. Miami, Cincinnati. Cincinnati is my team. Cincinnati moves to the Elite Eight. So we got a 1-2 matchup in the South. Xavier and Gonzaga. That's a tough one. You know what? I'm going to go with the Zags. I like Gonzaga. I like the small schools. Michigan, UNC. This is a very, very good game. This might be the toughest decision I had to make here. Michigan or UNC? You know what? I like Big Ten teams. I'm going to root for the Big Ten teams this year, so give me Michigan in this one. I will get Michigan right in there. Nova versus Wichita State, 1 versus a 4. Give me Wichita State. I love riding with the small schools. I am a sucker for the small school stories. Purdue and Florida. Gotta go with Purdue there. Purdue, this is Purdue's year. They're gonna go far. Have them advancing to the Elite Eight. Seton Hall, Auburn. Man, this is an 8 versus a 4, huh? Give me Auburn, man. Auburn has not made the tournament since 2003. They're going to go all the way to Elite Eight in their first appearance since then. MSU, Rhode Island. Give me MSU. Alright, so we're down to our Elite Eight matchup. So we got Virginia and Cincinnati. Give me Virginia. Virginia will be representing the South in the Final Four. Michigan versus Gonzaga. Give me Michigan. Michigan, I like Michigan. Michigan is a good team this year. They are a very, very good team this year. Wichita State and Purdue. You know what? I'm riding with Wichita State. Wichita State is going to the Final Four this year, out of the East. Auburn versus MSU. Give me MSU. So we've got 2 Big Ten teams, both of them from Michigan in the Final Four. My Final Four is Virginia, Wichita State, Michigan, and Michigan State. So, here we go. Who's going to play in the national championship? Virginia versus Michigan. This is going to be a really good matchup. You know, if Michigan can get hot from 3, they might win this game. But I don't know. That's the way to beat the 2-3 zone that Virginia has. You know what? I feel like it's Virginia's year. As for Tony Bennett's year, they're going to go to the national championship. They are a very, very good team. Wichita State and MSU. Hey, I've rode with Wichita State this whole time. I am going Wichita State to get to the national championship, and Virginia, Wichita State. You know, this is a good matchup here. My national champion is Virginia. Virginia's going to win the national championship. Tony Bennett's going to get his first. I'll show you guys my bracket here, my full bracket. Here is the South Division, or the East Division, sorry. The Midwest Division. Over here we have the South Division and the West Division. And my Final Four is Wichita State versus MSU and Virginia versus Michigan. And I have Wichita State versus Virginia in the national championship, with Virginia coming out on top. I don't know if that's backwards or not. It's showing up backwards to me, but I'm not sure. But anyways, guys, that is my video. It was a little bit of a long one. Kudos to you if you hung in there with me choosing all those teams. But that's my bracket. That's my first bracket of the year. I'll undoubtedly be doing more in a bunch of different pools online and at school and everything like that. So, but that's my official one for the YouTube channel. And I really like Wichita State. We'll see what happens. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you next time.